Welcome to Ngosi Talk Shows. Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Challenges we have had to overcome in 2020.
Find your own voice.
The world has become united by the unseen, knowing there are no guarantees for tomorrow.
Lead from within.
Find your own voice.
Let the world hear your voice and be filled within.
For the day has come for you to be a great leader.
The time has come to break away from the pain, distraction, experience the unthinkable.
Welcome to Ngosi Talk Show. Find your own voice, lead from within. Over to you, Kamal. Please introduce yourself to our audience.
Sorry, I was just trying to find the button for a reason. Welcome everybody watching. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you may be in this wonderful world. There's an average of 90% of people that live their lives without growth, without questioning their existence, constantly living with the feeling of being lost, not knowing where to go, and even having some sense of feeling of no sense of purpose in their life that envelops them. These same people usually suffer from confusion of their own values contra the values that society has conditioned us into from the values of public figures of authority. And in this case, if you have that feeling of being stuck in a hamster wheel, always grinding, always running with no sense of direction, with a lack of fulfillment in your life and belonging in it. My name is kamalamer, and I'm a certified NLP trainer, master practitioner, hypnotherapist, and a life purpose specialist. Now, my job is to answer these questions that I asked you. With a combination of ancient Egyptian wisdom and neurolinguistic programming, I can help you create a foundation to a life of harmony, balance, and purpose. Up to you, Birgette.
Thank you very much, Kamal. Thank you. Let me ask you, if you're watching this, would you love to be able to easily have, and with fun, have more peace of mind and transform your loss and trauma to triumph and thriving joyful life? I'm Birgette Tan, and I am the founder of Dance Away Sadness, Move Beyond Your Grief Support System, as well as I am a speaker and author and coach in grief transformation. And I can do just that, where I can help you create the result that you would really, really love, that bring you joy and fun, and wake up saying, yes, I love my life, regardless of your current condition, and doing all those with ease and fun. And back to you, Numsa.
Thank you so much, Dr. Birgette. So our topic today is Dance Away Sadness, Move Beyond Your Grief. Is a grief support technique that uses freestyle dancing to help us let our feelings flow and move. So Dance Away Sadness. So Dr. Birgette, I was looking for a topic this morning. As always, I always ask you guys, can I have a topic? And you come out always say, no, sir, find a topic, then you will see whether it suits us or not. So I was going to go to your both websites and have a look, but then I went to your website and I just kept scrolling, and I was shocked. And then I'm reading your website and came across this video and the Dance Away Sadness. I was so impressed, and I just loved just watching and listening to the video. It brought a smile into my face. And it was like, okay, let's use this as a topic today. So that's why we are here today. So, but I'm going to give it to you to actually explain about your program, because this is your program. Basically, you are a grief coach and you are coaching your clients to dance away through grief, through sadness. Over to you, Dr. Birgette, please.
Thank you, Numsa. Yes, there is a part of grief that words cannot touch. There is a part of your grief, your feelings, that words cannot touch, such that even when you speak it to a counselor or to a coach or write them down, if you have ever have this experience, looking back, the moment where you have some challenge, adversity, sadness, there is sometimes still something left deep inside of you. And dance away sadness is to actually to help you touch and release this part of grief, these feelings that buried a lot of time deep in you, deeper than the most superficial one that words can touch. And that way you will be able to fully truly heal and become who you really would love to be, living with ease and peace of mind and joy on consistent regular basis. And of course, doing all this, because its use is dancing, you'll see in like what the music we use, in doing all this easily and with fun, because I believe everybody deserve to have ease and fun. And in a moment we can do this, and then I can explain why, based on multiple theory, including the, one of them, Dr. Joe Dispenza, has visited this quite a bit on why this work. But that is basically that dance away sadness is uses freestyle dancing, music, and coaching, freestyle movement, music, and coaching to help you release the part of grief, your grief that words alone cannot touch.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Birgette. Are we playing the video?
Yes, we can definitely play the video. Let's see. I don't know how. So it is up now. Is it playing?
Yeah, I think you need to play it where you are.
So many times in our life, we have things that's in our way that we wish we can kick away or stomp away. As children, when we are upset, we can stomp our feet or kick away with our leg. But as adults, they told us not to. It's not quite polite for adults to stomp or kick. Well, this is your place. This is your space. This is your time. In here, you can kick your legs. You can stomp your feet. You can take away all that weighs your heart. You can stomp everything that angers you. This is your space. This is your place. This is your time. There is no right or wrong in here. What's right is what feels right to you. What's right is what feels right to your heart.
Woo! I was having fun. Woo-hoo.
Quite interesting. I like the idea. It's very interesting.
I was having fun. How come you guys were sitting?
Well,
And yes, Kamal, it does. It does. You mentioned that. It does use. That one use belly dancing. It's actually we use a variety of music. I don't believe there is heavy metal in there. In my selections you could, but we use anywhere from belly dancing to Enya to classical to new age. You name it. It's and it is not always sad because as we say in Dance Away in Sadness, it is what calls your heart.
That is beautiful. That made me happy. Honestly, that made me happy. Come on, what did you think?
I was thinking about it, and it's quite interesting because if you look into certain cultures, right, they use music and dance to help with grief a lot. I'm going to go into ancient Egypt because this is what my programs specialize in, and you'll find that there are so many. There's so many moments that they dance and they sing and for everything, right? For grief, for a birth, for a celebration of whatever it is. But I like the idea here when I didn't know that it was part of like you have a grief program that was dancing it away, right? And the idea is very simple, I guess, from my perspective. You know, when you force your physiology to change, no matter how you do whatever you do, you're forced to. That mentality changes. It's like here. I'll play something very simple with you. Have you both got a pen? Right. I want you to put that pen in your mouth without the lips touching. So with your teeth.
Want to miss out? Let me get my pen here. I do not want to miss out.
Right. So you take the pen and you put it in your mouth, and without your lips touching. All right. And now I can bet you. You see, you're smiling now. You're forced to smile, right? And you, Birgette, you already automatically started to laugh, and Nomsa did the same thing. If you read anything in front of you right now, it will be automatically funny because you have changed your physiology. And I think the concept of dancing away sadness, I don't know, that's your concept, right? But this is what I got out of it. And I love it. Of course, that you used Egyptian belly dancing music. That's super cool as well.
Thank you, Kamal. Yes, it is actually it is the like you said, you change the physiologic and also the vibrations. If you guys ever listen to music with really strong tempo, like the really strong vibrations, like some of the heavy metal or the classical, they have really strong vibrations, so to say. You could actually sometimes feel it almost like affecting your heart. And we know that this is in hospitals and things like that. If patients with, let's say, severe arrhythmia or certain heart condition, you don't want to play really strong music with them because it can influence the heart, because we know in everything in life is vibration. We all vibrate at different rates, and the vibration from the music can influence you. So everything is vibrations, and the grief has different level of vibrations. And so that is why with Dance Away Sadness, when you play music, even just music on its own can can help you release. If you ever feel times when you feel like you need to cry and you couldn't cry or something, and you listen to certain music and it help you release that. And so that is one reasons that the dance away sadness help. And then, as you said, the movement and everything. Dr. Joe Dispenza says this very, very well. He explains this very, very well, that when you have an experience, when you read something, so let's say when you are reading something or you're listening to something, that get into the cells in your brain. But when you have an impactful experience, whether it is beautiful, such as getting married or having a baby, or an one that you don't desire, such as a grief event, a significant adversity, it get in your cells, and our cells vibrate at a different rate than our mind, our brain. The cells vibrate actually at different vibration than words, and that's why if it is impactful and it get into your cells, words alone cannot always release what you need to touch and release. And while music, as well as your movement, because the music touch the cells at the different vibrations, which is what we know from physiology. And then the movement, I mean, now you have music, and then when you move, your cells naturally vibrate at a different level as well. And with Dance Away Sadness, it's combined with mindful coaching. And so combinations of all those three just allow you to really touch the what buried in your cells deeply, and allow it to surface. It does surface, and then you are able to release it.
You're absolutely right, and I love that when you're saying that release of the energy and how you're dancing it out and all of that. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've all been through that when we were teenagers and our first love, and then we broke up and we listened to a song and weeping away. And even I bet you anything until today, just that memory of that song brings out some sort of emotion, but it's a different kind of emotion and it's a different kind of feeling. But that sadness that we've had related or anchored to that song has caused some sort of physiology, has caused a change in our energy. Even just crying, right? It's still movement of the inner body, obviously, and it's everything, but it's something else. And I love that because you made me remember a very massive breakup that I had when I was like mid-20s, and I would spend my time going out to clubs, dancing to get it out of my system, to stop crying, to stop grieving, and all of that. So it's kind of worked, but you dance it away, you're not feeling it, you're completely in the moment, everything disappears, and then when you go and seclude yourself in your own room in the darkness, everything comes back again. So I guess combining it with that coaching part that you're talking about it's a perfect combination. I love it.
Yeah, because otherwise, you can do the dancing on your own, and it's definitely better than you just sit tight and not do anything. And some people, I do want to say this: dancing is wonderful, and the most important thing is, if you were to do something like this, of course, the Dance Away Sadness available on a virtual platform now, so it doesn't matter where you are. I'm in the US, you are in the UK, and Norway, as anywhere in the world, it can be done. But let's say you do this. Some people take dance classes, and there are dance classes. There are Dance Away Sadness is actually inspired by a few different freestyle dancing movement, like 5 rhythm and soul motions. And if you want to, I can share how it comes around. But the one thing that I want people to remember is the freestyle part is as much as freestyle as you can is actually a critical part of this, because we all move at a different speed and a different rate, and our heart call us to different things. So if you go into a very structure, now if it make you feel comfortable and allow you to transitions to freestyle, by all means do that. Take a Zumba or whatever dance class you can find. But you want to, at some point, allow yourself the opportunity to move what your heart and body call, and not just following somebody else's. So that's definitely something that important part of your Dance Away Sadness?
I love the dancing part, dance away sadness, because, like you were saying before, Dr. Birgette, when you were said, when we lose someone, like Kamal was saying, he basically went through a painful breakup. Sometimes instead of releasing the feelings, we bury them inside. So if you decide whether you want to dance away or however you want to do it, releasing, because dancing away, like right now I was dancing, so basically I'm releasing something inside of me, and I was enjoying myself. I've had stress all morning with the school and going to work and working and answering phone calls and going to work and walking. Basically, is so much stress as well. Watching people wearing masks, sometimes you can't recognize the people that you know, that you love. And it's a stress as well. So it's dancing away. So I'm dancing away sadness of grieving. So Kamal is right. Sometimes when you dance away this, when I came across your video, it's like, I just laughed. It made me laugh. I was tired getting up in the morning. I was really tired, but it woke me up because it was so funny. I was like, this is amazing, because if I was grieving, if I had seen it when I was grieving the death of I lost both my father and my step-parents. It would have been really easier if I had found a coach that can take me through that journey. It would have been really, really easier, because we bury the feelings inside you. Sometimes you think that because you're grieving, you worry about people too much, that they've had it too much. So you decide to bury those feelings. And for me, it took a long time. It was basically until I used Paul McKenna's programs, when I had to face my feelings. And dancing away, sometimes, when you dance, like you are my accountability partner. I've decided to go running Monday to Friday, which I was doing. And then Saturday, Sunday, I dance away. And I've realized there's been so much improvement because I'm dancing, I'm releasing. Basically, when I dance, I don't use my legs a lot. I use the top beat, like, because in Africa, basically, you got to know how to dance. You got to know how to move. So, honestly, you got to know how to move. If you go on stage, if you don't know how to move, you put me to sleep. So when I saw your video, I was like, I love her. So basically, I've been dancing, like learning to dance with the top, basically just the top, not using my legs. And I've been releasing the stress. Sometimes you get the flames coming out because we have this stress that we don't release it, the feelings, we hide them inside. I don't know if Kamala agrees with me. He never agrees with me anything anyway.
Well, if you're hiding away your grief, if you're containing your sorrow or whatever emotions you are, well, you're not grieving, basically, right? Grieving is letting that emotion that feeling express itself into an emotion, right? And a lot of people do that. Unfortunately, they think, no, I got to be strong. I'm a man. I have to contain myself. I can't cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. There's nothing wrong with being emotionally available, whether you're a woman or a man, right? Being thoughtful and mindful of your own emotions and feelings is something. It's emotional intelligence, basically, right?
Yeah. I love that. It's wonderful that you mentions that. Somebody asked what is grief. So many people actually has a misunderstanding that grief is only from death, divorce, or dire diagnosis. Grief, according to the Grief Recovery Institute, is the unsettling feelings caused by any change, not just death or breakup or anything, but grief is the unsettling feelings caused by any change in your familiar routine. And it's usually so anything that can cause a change. So for instance, when the pandemic come and everybody experienced changes from going to work and being able to go out, and now you could not, that can, if it cause unsettling feeling in you, it can definitely cause grief. Now the other thing that and so practically any losses can cause that. And at the same time, what people not aware and cause a lot of time hidden grief, which then away sadness, to my surprise, where I didn't realize this when I created it, but then the way sadness actually really good is in bringing in helping you release hidden grief as well as buried grief, people grief that something happened to you 30, 40, 20, 10 years ago, and people will come for something different that's current, and then they do dance away sadness, and it helped them release all this buried grief from trauma from the childhood even. But the other part with hidden grief is because grief is caused by any change. Many times people don't realize even what we call good, or there's really no good or bad, but even desirable events, things such as getting married, getting promotions, moving, retirement, having new babies. Those are all changes. And if those can cause any of them, if they cause the unsettling feelings in you, then it is something that can definitely cause grief as well. And unfortunately, because it's not something commonly recognized, it's a lot of time people don't know, and then they say, oh, well, you know what, this is a good event in my life, so I should be happy, and I should only be happy, and not acknowledging this sadness, this unsettledness inside of me. And then guess what happened? Like you said, you try to bury them, but then you can't really bury grief. It just morphs into something else, and then comes up in a different way and cause problem that way.
Yeah, I think that's the whole idea, right? And it's not only grief that is not expressed or bottled up or taken out of context, right? The idea itself of having these feelings, there's a reason behind it, right? We have reasons. There's a reason why our emotions come out of a feeling, is because they have a need to be expressed. And that expression, like you were saying here about that happiness part, like I have to be happy. No, you don't have to be happy. You can be happy in an instant, but you can also grieve. You can be happy for the loss of somebody that you love, because that loss maybe is better for them, right? An example that I use sometimes with clients, not with grief because I don't work with that, but it's my uncle. When he passed away, we didn't know what was happening. He had internal bleeding. They couldn't find it. Nothing was possible, right? And I saw him in a hospital. He was very ill, and I wasn't used to seeing my uncle like that. He was a funny, jolly person. We would joke around and all of that, right? And on my way back home, he died the next day, right? But I woke up. I got the phone call, and they said he passed away. I was actually happy for him at the same time, but I was still sad. I grieved, but I was happy for him, because I knew he would not feel that pain. So happiness is one thing, but having different emotions and feelings is a completely different thing, right? We can have several feelings at the same time and have a different emotional expression. And that's, I think, something that people don't express or explain very well, especially, I don't know, I haven't heard it being explained how you're doing it right now. Because it's important to understand that the more we define our lives or our states, the easier it is for us to express ourselves, whether speaking or emotionally.
Yeah, a lot of time people are as we grow up in society that says, oh, this is how you're supposed to do this, and this is how you're supposed to do that, and this is how you're supposed to feel. And grief and grief is uncomfortable for most people, and people has a tendency to naturally, being human, and even any living being, we try to shy away from anything uncomfortable. And so the result is people say, well, if there is something nice and there is something uncomfortable, we're just going to focus on the nice thing and kind of push away the uncomfortable part. And then the message to over the years in society changed to, oh, well, you got to be feeling good and you got to be strong. And that's so much so that with the grief recovery, we have six different what we call myths or very common misunderstanding, that because of that, people who are already grieving and remembering that grieving is unsettling feelings caused by a change in the routine, not only death, divorce, or dire diagnosis. People who are already grieving, who already feel unsettled, it's actually because of this misunderstanding, which we can discuss at a different time, actually only make you feel worse. Like one common example you just mentioned, Kamal, is be strong. If you ever been grieving and you're like, oh my God, I feel so horrible, and someone say to you, don't cry, be strong, how would you feel? You just like, oh, so I'm grieving, I'm losing this, and apparently I am a wimp. I grieve even more. I mean, can you imagine that? And so that's so much misunderstanding, and it's a lot of time it's because we have society telling us, well, it's in truth. To me, feelings. I put the analogy the feelings to our fingerprints. You know, if you look at your fingerprints, everybody fingerprint combinations meant to be unique. Each and every one of us. And if you look very closely at your fingerprints, each finger has slightly different prints. And your feelings are meant to be like that. And you have all your 10 different fingerprints all at the same time, don't you? Sometimes you focus on one or the other. Like if you're doing a thumb print, you focus on your thumb. And, and then perhaps if you're waving your middle finger, you're waving that print right now. And at the same time, you meant, like you said, Kamal, it's you meant to have them all, and feelings are just feelings. Just like you and I meant to have unique fingerprints, your feelings are like your fingerprints, meant to be unique to you. And it is different moments to moment. At this moment, you might feel this way, and the next moment, you might feel something different, and you might feel a mixed feeling. You might feel two different fingers or notice two different fingers, so to say, at the same time. Feelings are just feelings. Embrace them moment to moment.
Agree with you, Dr. Birgette. I think with grieving, before I used to look at grief as to break up and when you lose someone, but then as I grew and grow with personal development, I realized actually, even when you're talking to someone over the phone, and if things don't go well, that becomes a disappointment. Then you grieve because those expectations are not met. Or even sometimes when you go to work, you have a disagreement. Like sometimes, you have owners of the companies, the bosses who don't believe in you. But if you know that you've put hard work into your work and then they don't believe in yourself. So I used to get disappointed that way. And that's when I did last for 1 year. When I left football, I got a normal job for a year. And I was like, no, I don't do this. Honestly, working for somebody, I worked for 1 year, and I see people at work crying all the time because managers are not listening. And because me, I'm actually bonkers. It was something that I was not used to it. That world, I wasn't used to it. So I'll spend the time questioning my manager. And sometimes, honestly, I'll go to the office and ask her questions. And in the end, she actually... I requested, because the companies, they can't refuse. In the end, I requested to have a meeting with her and her manager, and she actually turned up because I wasn't used to seeing people crying. And I was like, why there's so many people crying at work and not happy? Honestly, she thought I was bonkers. And she was like, no, sir, you need to go back and find your work for yourself. This is the real world. Honestly, I'll see somebody walking into the office. They come out, they're crying. And then it's somebody else the following day, it will be over and over and over. I was like, this is not normal. So I decided to actually, she was nice as well. She will listen if there's something that I didn't understand, because I see people crying. So I'll be like, can we talk? So I just walk into the office and ask why people are crying, or somebody tells me off for no reason because I'm not used to it. I work very hard, and somebody will come in being with an attitude, and I'll be like, I'm not used to this. And then I realized actually that is the normal world of that kind of working environment. I was like, and when I was pregnant, then I felt pregnant at that moment, that 1 year, and she was like, are you coming back? I was like, no, I don't think so. I was like, no, I don't think so. I'm grieving because I felt like, honestly, I felt like I was grieving every single day, looking at people. You know, even sometimes the problem is not yours. When you see somebody crying, they're not happy, that affects you inside. So that's why I was spending time in the office asking her questions. Why do you make each other upset? Why why are they crying? And she'll be like, no, sir, you don't understand. This is how. I was like, no, I don't think this is how this society should be. I don't understand it. Because with us, with football, if you play football and you fight with somebody, and if you're not happy, you fight there and there. It's like you tell each other out, call each other out, and you give each other a hug. No one cries, a hug, and then it's a goodbye. Or if your manager is not happy, they tell you off the same time, and they explain why they're telling you off. You understand it. And if you wanna cry, I wouldn't cry anyway. Football, you can cry. That's weak. Basically, mentally, that shows weakness. So you can't cry. So I wouldn't cry. So when I joined the normal work, I was like, this is awful. I've never used to it. So like Dr. Birgette, what you're saying, basically people grieve in so many ways that they can never imagine. Even like, I'm in a relationship. Let's say if I want something from my spouse, if I don't get it, it feels like a disappointment as well, because you grieve. But I don't grieve anyway, because I know that if I ask something, if I'm not going to get it, I already know the answer, that I'm not going to get this, but I'm going to try it anyway. So I have no expectations. If he says no, I'm like, you're going to say that. So I'll try again next time when he's in a good mood. So then I get no again. So it doesn't feel like expectations, but it's a tough mentality that you need to work on. But back to grieving, Kamal, you spoke about.
Yeah, no, I actually had a question for Birgette, because what you're bringing up here and what Birgette was talking about, like, you know, dance away the sadness, dance away the grief. I'd like you to, if possible, to explain, when people are grieving, it's difficult at times to get yourself out of it. It's difficult even to just, go and, what, I'm going to dance it away. And that process of getting yourself up is hard. It's not easy. Like, I had it with my divorce. I've had it with several clients that just got divorced or separated, or that became single parents, right? That it's a huge loss, right? And it's grieving that new beginning of what am I doing? And like Nomsa was saying, people handle it very differently. When you look into divorces and separations, people, they jump straight away into a new relationship and they forget to grieve the old relationship, right? They forget to give themselves time to grow out of it. They forget, for instance, they go into drugs, alcohol, sex, food, right? And all of that doesn't really help. They think that it helps them grieve and they think that it helps them move on, but it just keeps on, like, it presses on top of everything until it's completely locked. So my question to you here is, how do you, I'm not going to use the word motivate because that takes a split second, but how do you encourage, influence the people that come to you to participate even though they don't want to?
Absolutely. Thank you, Kamal. So there's a couple things with that. The first part is, yes, and for people who are listening, you're very true. A lot of people move to something else, is like drugs or alcohol or things, and part of that is back to the society of, it's actually people do that to numb themselves, but like you said, it doesn't move them away. And actually, if anything, when you do something like that, have somebody asked, have I faced grief in my life? Yes, we can share about that briefly if we have a chance in a moment. And then Dance Away Sadness actually is created because of me facing a multitude of grief, like 10, 11 different grief events in within 2 years altogether. And so but back to answer Kamal questions quickly first, how do I motivate people? So first of all, everybody grieve differently and have different time of for themselves. Part of the fingerprints is it takes you different, everyone has different time. You might have an identical twin, and let's just take an example. You have an identical twin and the twin lost their mother, and one person might say, okay, I'm going to create a wonderful eulogy and this and that, and I cried for a day and then I move on. And the other person might sit there and cried and could not even do that, and so could not create a eulogy or anything, and just need a month, for instance, to cry. Everybody different. Now, so you, first of all, you need to remember you have your different pace and different way of processing things. And the fact that, let's say, your neighbors move on in 3 weeks and your significant others in 3 days does not mean you have to fit anywhere in there. So most people know, if you allow yourself to listen to you, not what your boss says, not what your significant other, your mother, your neighbor, your dog, what the newspaper say. If you allow yourself time to grieve and cry, and yes, crying can make you feel vulnerable, but your tears, study shows your tears help you recover easier and better. So if you allow yourself time to grieve, and crying, and even with crying, actually, some people, when they are grieving, there was, in that 2 years of my multitude of grief, there were times I did not feel like crying. There were times I felt like screaming and using every imaginable F word in every imaginable way. And that's fine. That's how you do it. Just do it safely, apparently. And so if you listen to yourself and allow yourself what your body and your heart called you, you will know. Now, for people who, basically the answer to your question is, some people need time before they reach out, before they can reach out. Now, at the same time, what we want to remember is, many times in the society, we have this belief, because the way many society brought us up, that, oh, if you're crying or you're grieving is a weakness, and that's hold people back even more. But and so that's the part we don't want to, and that's what education is about. That's why I am a speaker worldwide, to help people realize that is that part is definitely an opportunity for us to improve. But otherwise, you have your time. Now, if you have reached a point where you said, okay, you know what, this is going on, and I want help, how do we motivate people? How do we help people such that they receive the help? with the grief recovery and with anything in life, really, even with with grief, there is what we call the 1% responsibility. The 1% responsibility is at the end, you are the only person that can take the responsibility and take the actions to heal and be better. I can bring dance away sadness to your living room, but if you turn it off, you close your ears and everything, I'm not going to be able to make you drink the water, so to say, even if I take the water to you. So there is the 1% responsibility. And now, for people who are thinking about doing something like dance away sadness, and they come and they say, well, I've never danced in my whole life and I am stiffer and clumsier than what have you. Let me tell you this. When I grew up, I was told that I was a stiff, clumsy, ugly duckling who should never ever think to dance. And so if I am able, being growing up stiff, clumsy, ugly duckling, not only I never dance, I was a stiff, clumsy, ugly duckling who should never dance. If I am able to go from there to use dancing, and somebody asked if I have faced grief in my life, when I went through 2 years of divorce, death of loved ones, financial loss, cancer, and many other things all happened in 2 years, something in me just called me to start moving. And at the beginning, it was a lot of Enya and some Middle Eastern dance and some other thing in the closet. It's basically a space the size of a closet in my bedroom in the dark. And I just listened to it and I listened to myself, listened to my heart, and it's like, okay, I never dance. I'm supposed to be a stiff clumsy. I'm just gonna move anyway, and in the dark, and in there, and then just move to and I just let it go. I just move and let all the jiggles in my body jiggles and everything such that and that's how dance away sadness actually was created, to help myself so I don't take a bottle of pills basically. But if you never dance and you say, well, you know what, I want to dance, or even if it is something else, some people express differently. It's not just dancing. Some people say, oh, I suddenly feel a calling for painting right now. I never touched a paintbrush in my whole life. I suddenly want to paint. Then go ahead and do that. And go ahead and do that, because there is a part of you that's trying to, usually when you're grieving, want to come out. And that will listen to your heart and go ahead and just do it.
Well, I disagree with the person that said you will never dance, Dr. Birgette, because guess what? You have to learn dance moves. Everyone has to learn dance moves. So I know there's some people that say I'm not a good dancer, I'm not this, but you have to practice to be a dancer. Like myself, the natural, we can dance, but you have to learn it. Not everyone in Africa knows how to dance. Honestly, this is the truth. But if you actually say, okay, dancing is what I want to do, you can learn to dance. You can learn the dance move. But I don't have a right to come to Kamal and say, you can dance, because you can. I actually said to my man when I met him, he was actually chopping onions, and he was dancing. To him, he was really, really a good dancer. And I just looked at him and I was like, wow. He was so serious, like, I can dance, baby. He was like, he was in his own world. He didn't care. So then I was like, let me teach him a lesson how dancing it. What does it mean when dancing? So I went on stage and then I started dancing, and then he stopped and looked at me and he was like, are you trying to show me that I'm not a good dancer? Then he came back with more dance move. And then I came back with no more dance move. And both of us, we surrendered. We were like, Okay, we've had enough now because everyone stopped and everyone started watching because we're having a laugh, basically. Some people were drinking and making fun of themselves, and we're making fun of ourselves on the dance move. So everyone just stops and the crew stop laughing because we're just having fun. So I believe that I think everyone can dance. It's only in the mindset if you actually put your mind off, because dancing is actually, when you listen to the music, you have to go with the rhythm of the music. But people seems to think that, oh, if you make a decision in your mind that no, I can't dance, that means you can't listen to the song. But if you actually say, okay, this is the song that is doing this, so I'm gonna dance with the move, I'm gonna create my own rhythm, and I'm gonna learn it. So the person that told you that you can't dance, even them, they cannot dance the dance move without learning it. So you should have told them, hang on a minute, I can learn to dance. Like I can learn to grieve. I didn't know how to grieve properly before. So it became a process that I had to learn how to grieve. And for me, when I was grieving, it was different because some days I was having bad days. And for me, I was very, very close to my family. And although I am the mid one, I am the third child within my family. But because I'm curious and very, very nosy, I spend time interviewing my family. I sometimes, honestly, I spend time interviewing my family. If there was something that I needed to know, I'd go and sit down with my dad. I ask questions. Why do you do this? Why do you do this? So why do they behave that way? Or I'm going to ask my mom, or I'm going to ask my stepdad, or there's a time when my dad, so I wonder, this came into my mind. I was like, okay, I've got my stepdad, I've got my stepmom. And what happens then if my father dies? She's got my father's kids. And I think I was 10, that I was 12. What happens if she has my father's kids and then my father died? Does it mean I lose my siblings? So I was like, let me go and ask her questions. So then I went and sat down with my stepmom. I was like, can we talk? And she was like, yeah, no, I'm so sure. So then I asked a question. I was like, what happens if my dad dies? What happens? Does it mean you take my siblings away and you go back home? Because I don't know how it works. And she was like, no, I'm married to your dad. If your dad dies, that means I live here. I wanted to understand. So she gave me that reassurance that, no, I live here. So you have your mommy, I'm your mommy too. So I can't take your siblings away from you. But that was something that I had to ask because I was like, how does this step parents work? Does it mean she takes my siblings away? How does it work? So basically, I spent time asking questions with my family, anything that I couldn't understand. But that it helps when you are grieving those memories, because like I lost my stepmom. And the memories, when I was grieving, that brought comfort to me that you made a promise that my dad dies, you're going to stay with my siblings, and you kept that promise. So that means that now I'm now left to look after my younger kids, my younger siblings, responsible because you kept the promise. I have to keep the promise as an older sister. So every time I speak to my siblings, that brought me comfort, knowing that okay, she kept the promise. I need to keep the promise, and I need to tell you how much I love you. But sometimes I speak to them and they cry, I cry. So, but it was a process. It's not something that happened overnight. I think it took me a year to grieve.
Yeah.
Accept change in life.
No, I was just answering one of the question, it was asking, how do you get over it? A lot of people want to know, how do you get over grief? And I was just helping out here a little bit. And
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kamal. Thank you.
Well, the other thing I want to say is definitely accepting change in life. So the questions that one of the audience is says is how to get over grief. The other question is how does dancing help? And we actually shared that earlier in the program, how dancing and music can help. So we addressed that. But how to get over grief, and like Kamal said, acceptance is definitely one. But the get over sometimes is a little bit of a misnomer. I think is what something that a lot of people say. You don't really get over. Depend on what your interpretation of get over. You don't necessarily get over grief. You move beyond that. So it happened in your life, and you don't get over and like, oh, I'm gonna act like it never happened or it never affected me. It affected you, but you actually navigate through it, process it, and dance away sadness as well as many other grief program out there help you process it in much better. Dance away sadness just allow you to touch the part that a lot of other programs don't, but you actually you process it and you move beyond that. That's why it's then so where sadness move beyond your grief. So you don't get over in that, oh, I'm over it, I'm done with it. It's will affect you because we're living, and for every single one of us who is alive and can remember, we will still remember the pandemic in 10 years. We don't get over it. Yes, we process it, we move through it, and then we survive and thrive. And so we don't get over, but we move beyond that by navigating. And that's what the coaches here and myself being a grief transformation coach is, to help you to navigate, including my book here for Seeking Peace, to help you navigate what's going on in your life so you can do it easier and faster, and then move beyond that and include accepting some part that you can't change.
I love how you said navigate through, because it's exactly that, right? I mean, we're born and we die. We know those two, right? This is unchangeable. It's there. How we live our life is more like a navigation, right? It's a development. It's a pathway that we create for ourselves. And navigating through grief, I think, is a nice expression to go from get over it. I like that as well. I mean, obviously you don't get over things like that. They will always be there. You move past them, you move beyond them, like you were expressing. That's very nicely said. I'm going to actually share just this quote, a couple of quotes that are related, because I can see we're almost coming soon to time. Because I mean, I love that how you've expressed it, and I don't coach grief, right? And that's your specialty, and it's wonderful. But I do have a couple of quotes that are related to grief and feelings that might allow people to think a little bit. So the first one is from Tolstoy, and he said, "Only people who are capable of loving strongly can also suffer great sorrow. But it's that same necessity of loving serves to counteract their grief and heals them." Now, this I related to another thing that Mark Twain said, which is a very famous quote of "Dance like nobody's watching, love like you've never been hurt, sing like nobody's listening, live like heaven's on earth." The reason why I combine both of them together is that it's important to go through all of these things in life, and like Tolstoy was saying, you need to love sincerely and deeply and be ready for that hurt and sorrow, and even express sorrow and grief deeply, so that you can start to live more your life and enjoy it, and be mindful of every moment that you spend in your life, whether it's in grief, love, sorrow, happiness, joy, excitement, whatever it is. Live it to every single moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I will leave the audience with for today.
Thank you so much, Kamal. Dr. Birgette, any words of encouragement?
I love that, Kamal. Live with every single moment. And yes, the as you're living every single moment, there are moments that seems to be a whole lot of tougher than some other. And when that happen, know that you are not alone. Many times when we have things going on in our life, we feel that we are alone. Now you are unique, and so your feelings unique, and that's a lot of time contribute why you're feeling alone, because everybody feels differently. But again, it does not make your feeling right or wrong, and it does not make you alone. So live your life, embrace every single moment, and the moments that you that's just tough moments, the moments you don't know what to do, then know that you're not alone. There are people here, all the coaches are here. If you are experiencing grief, I am here. If you know somebody who are experiencing grief, I am. If you go to my website, you can even schedule a complimentary laser coaching with me. And so that's something that you're not alone. There is help, and in here in multiple different form, and now in the virtual world, it doesn't matter where you are, you can still welcome and receive and allow help for you. So you're not alone. If you are experiencing grief, hang in there. You will soon also move beyond your grief if you take that 1% responsibility.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Birgette and Kamal. I hope our audience, basically, when it comes to this subject, I'll say please contact Dr. Birgette, because she's a grief coach, and I don't know anything about grieving. I'm learning from them, the coaches. So you can talk to me about love, I'll be listening. But when it comes to grief, no, I don't know anything. So please, we are here Monday to Friday at Ngosi Talk Show, 1 p.m. UK time. And thank you so much, guys. I've been off for 2 days, and you guys did a wonderful job. Honestly, I went off, my children were filming, and we had so much fun, and it was amazing. I actually spent time, I was ignoring phone calls. I didn't answer any phone calls, any business phone calls. I spent basically 2 days working on myself. So I was like, this is the time where my basically my youngest daughter loved living in hotels. So I saw her, how much she was happy, and I was like, that means I deserve to be happy. No more business phone calls. So I was like, I was meant to come in yesterday, and I saw Carol Ann and what's the name, Amanda, and they had it all under control. I was like, no, I'm just gonna relax. And yesterday, Nadia and Shireen, they had it all under control. So thank you so much, Kamal and Dr. Birgette. I appreciate you guys. So now I know I can travel around the world, and I have my family at Ngosi Talk Show. So thank you so much, guys. And live with grace, everyone. You know how to contact us. We are at Ngosi Talk Show. Our page is there for you guys to get in touch with us. And God bless you, and live with grace.